Great. So welcome to the last session before the lunch. Please spare us a little bit of your attention. My name is Paul Bastian. I'm working for Bundesdruckerei and participating in several standards organizations.
Yeah, I'm working for the federal government breakthrough agency, also for Germany, and also in multiple standardization organizations. And yes, before lunch, we know this is a challenge, but to give you a small overview of all the standards that are out there and may be relevant for you.
Okay, next slide, please.
Yes, so this track was initiated by the OpenWallet Foundation. So for those who don't know what they are doing, they are allowing open source implementations. So they are based on standards. They are not writing the standards. So we thought, well, it would be really cool to organize with multiple standardization organizations how they have impact on digital identities and the whole wallet ecosystem. And to give you an overview like what are standards, basic example to measure distance for the last hundreds of years. On the map you see most of the countries are using the metric system. It's standardized, so we know 1,000 meters is 1 kilometers. For imperial, how many feet are in a mile? I don't, nobody knows. So here it is standardized, but we see there's difference. And what could happen when one side implements one side implements two? We see in the next example, yes, when you are calculating it in meters, but then the robot is programmed in feet, you could crash your Mars orbiter. So it could be quite expensive. So here I think $2 million were wasted. So we know there are multiple standards out there, and we have to make sure that we know all of them and can respect them. And Paul is telling you like how this is working together.
Okay, so before, on the next slide, we will jump into all the standards organizations and the standards. We want to draw like a common picture so that you better understand where each of these standards that you probably heard all before actually fit into the bigger picture. So many people are working on the same ideas, they have similar ideas, but they name things differently. So we try to, describe the basic building blocks for the digital credential stack and give them some common names that are being used in our community. On the left side, we have the issuer or the holder. One slide back, please. We have the issuer or the holder. He's talking to the user or the holder and the wallet in the middle. And then we have the verifier or the relying party on the right side consuming the information. The communication of them is initiated with some form of invocation, and then messages are transmitted on a transport layer. We have some kind of issuance protocol that is happening between the holder and the issuer, and within there, one or more credentials are being issued to the holder. And then on the right side, we have the similar invocation and transport mechanism, and now we have a presentation protocol that is being used to send presentations of credentials to the relying party, such that the relying party can validate these informations. And combining all these three entities together, we need some technical and organizational matters. We need to use cryptography and identifiers for validating and securing the information. And also we need a trust framework and a governance layer to actually create the trust through organizations and human interactions. And in the next slides, we'll look into each standards defining organization and what standards are they working on and how it fits into the big picture. So the first SDO is the OpenID Foundation, most known by the OpenID Connect standard, which is a fundamental identity layer in the internet today. They are developing two very important new standards. That's OpenID for verifiable credential issuance as an issuance protocol, and OpenID for verifiable presentations as a presentation protocol. Both of them are agnostic to the credentials and the trust framework and are being used in the European EIDAS ecosystem and many other ecosystems. And both of them are just right about now on the process of getting final. On top of this, OpenID Foundation defines the HYPE, the High Assurance Interop Profile, which is kind of a big profile defining all the pieces in this bigger picture, all the building blocks, also taking them from many other standards organization and putting them into like one big profile. There will be also a session about this tomorrow. There is also a session very early in the morning at 8:30 doing formal analysis on these protocols done by University Stuttgart. And lastly, we also have a conformance test, which is a huge strength of the OpenID Foundation. And we also list always some of the people that you can approach if you have questions about OpenID Foundation. You can approach me, or all the chairs, Torsten, Kristina, and Joseph, are also present at this conference.
So maybe to point out, these are just the people that are here today. So when you see them, target them with the questions. There are a lot more people in this OpenID Foundation working on this, and of course all the others. So watch out for them and ask your interesting or stupid question, whatever, they cannot escape. So, but as mentioned, this is not the only standardization organization, because we see there's still a lot of white boxes. So when we can go to the next slide, please. We see that W3C, that is famous for internet protocols, so that we can spend a lot of time on the web consuming cat videos and so on. And here we see that they have also a big impact when dealing with wallets. So one interesting or relevant part is the Digital Credentials API that I have a very good user experience between the user and the services. Because the baddest thing that could happen is like you want to interact with a servers, you have multiple wallets installed, and you have to guess in which app you stored a specific credential. But that's not all. We also see here that we have a very relevant credential format, the verifiable credentials data model, that helps us to define the specific credentials, to reference to schemes, so that ecosystem can align on this. And of course, they have done more. For example, also decentralized identifiers. We have over 100 digital identifiers out there, all standardized, so multiple organizations and systems can deal with this. And as you see, also here we have multiple sessions tomorrow, so you don't have to go back in time. These are all tomorrow, and also again, here are the relevant persons you have to tackle. And we have, of course, more sessions and organizations. So next slide, please.
Next up is IETF, Internet Grandfather Standardization Organization with almost 10,000 internet standards. If you have worked with JSON or CBOR, this is where it's coming from. And most importantly, also for our space, we have the cryptography layer. Whenever you sign or encrypt with JSON or CBOR, this is the layer down there called JOSI or COSI. And on top, we have a credential format, the selective disclosure JSON Web Token, building on top of the JSON Web Tokens that are already ubiquitous in the internet, and adding the selective disclosure functionality to this one. This one is also being used within Europe in the EITS ecosystem. And there will be a session on SDOs by Daniel Fett tomorrow. And there's also plenty of people that are active at IETF here. And also we have the token status list on the issuer side, which is a mechanism for status and revocation management.
And for those who were very, taking notes, would see that here we see some colored parts that we also had with W3C. So we see that multiple standardization organizations have different standards for the same purpose, like, for example, the credentials formats. And which is totally fine, because each standard has is perfectly fitting for another use cases. For example, you need more privacy. You would maybe go with some standards that is going with zero knowledge proof. Maybe you need semantic data. Then you go with another one. So with all the years, we saw that there's not only one solution that fits all. So it's totally fine that there are multiple solutions out there that will perfectly fit your demand. And with the SDOs, we are not battling to each other. most of the time, but trying to align this so that we are aligned on the same standards and can also align to have influence, for example, on different authorities. Okay, coming to the next. We have the FIDO Alliance. Also interesting when we know with passkeys and so on, and the FIDO sticks for easy authentication. And here we love this during Corona, the cardless payment, and then we say, hey, we could also pay with a phone, so we have this one-tap experience. And this protocol called Client to Authenticator Protocol, CTAP, gives a very good user experience because nobody has time to scan all the time a QR code. So here for the use cases, such protocols allow us to have a very good user experience. Yes, and also we will have a session about this tomorrow.
Yeah, that's going to be a very interesting how that also couples with the W3C Digital Credentials API and what we see in general that like many standards from different standards organization are like closely working together. And that's pretty nice. On the next slide, I think we have GlobalPlatform. GlobalPlatform is a non-profit industry consortium from manufacturers of secure elements, SIM cards, secure chip manufacturers, which are mostly working on the secure hardware that is holding the keys, especially for the wallet. They define ways how we can install software, maintain software on these secure chips, and the underlying frameworks underneath there. Next slide.
Yes, of course, we all love regulatory and compliance when dealing with it. And here ETSI is coming to play because ETSI takes a very relevant role in Europe, even with, especially with EIDAS. And the primary goal is on trust and liability. And to guarantee this, there are a lot of standards that are dealing with policies, how are they defined, how governance can be rolled out to guarantee interoperability in Europe. Because when I'm getting something into my wallet, I want also present this in all the other member states, at least in the EU. And hopefully when other countries like Switzerland adapting this, or at least are compliant to this, I could use the credentials here on the same trust level to guarantee this. And it will be also becoming interesting for the qualified part. So we are not talking about a normal signature anymore, but a qualified one. So here I have liability in businesses. I know there's a certified process, a defined process that's aligned in the EU that allows me to automatic, validate it, and needs no manual processes. And tomorrow we will also have a session about this, about trust management for the wallets when AI is coming into play.
And if you have questions, we have Godfather Arno for ETSI on the conference.
So in the trust framework, forgive me, Arno, I think he sent me like 20 different bullet points I should add in there. So imagine there's a lot more. So trust is complex, but ETSI is doing a great work on this. Yes, coming to the next.
Next up, we have the Cloud Signature Consortium, which deals how to sign signatures with remote HSMs or remote secure elements, which comes into play. Either you want to use a remote HSM for your wallet, or qualified electronic signatures is also a big deal for the EIDAS ecosystem. Then this is where the Cloud Signature Consortium and the specifications that they are doing comes into play. And we also have Viky on the conference if you have any questions.
And I think we have the IETU. And here it is interesting that I honestly forgot the content of So as we see, we also have multiple organizations on trust because it's not limited to Europe. ETSI is primarily focused on Europe, but here we see also there are trust frameworks that are needed all around the world. So,
and last but not least, we have ISO. ISO has a lot of standards on like everything from physical good to processes, but also on digital stuff. The ISO direction into the digital credentials ecosystem started from the mobile driving license, the 18013 series, which in the beginning described like the physical documents, but in part 5, the mobile driving license was specified. Part 5 of 18013 is actually describing a whole profile. It's describing how to do presentations in a mobile driving license and how to have a proximity protocol, as it was intended to have a demonstration of my mobile drivings to a police officer. And it also underneath has all like the cryptography and the trust framework that is needed behind this. And this was extended over time. For the mobile driving license, we have the part 7 that I think was finished just about last month, or is in the process of being finished, which is adding like the remote flow between the wallet and the relying parties, so I can remotely show my mobile driving license and also other MDoc credentials, which is again also in part relying again on OpenID 4VP in some forms. And then later on, this was more generalized into the ISO standard 23220, which makes this more abstract and is a framework for building blocks for digital credentials, which is also then, standardizing an issuance protocol and the credential formats there, and is adding, other forms that are necessary for the governance, for example, certain registries and certifications. And there's also, plenty of ISO people that are not on the slide. I see Hisham sitting over there. Ask him anything. Okay.
Yeah, one more, then you are free to go to lunch. So we are going with MOSIP, because again, ETSI on Europe, but here we also have more continents and also more situations where, for example, you don't have an internet connection. It happens also in Germany, unfortunately, but here we also need more specialized protocols like OpenID for VT over Bluetooth, so I have proximity flows. And here they are working on this, and if you want to find out more, they also have great sessions tomorrow where you find out more. And if you don't know whom to tackle during lunch, we see on the next slide, on the last one, all the faces you can now hunt. So it's a bit hide and seek maybe, but here again, just a few people working on the standards. There's a lot more. Most of the tracks you will find tomorrow in Salon 9 and 14, and of course, more information in the agenda. So thank you all. If you have any questions, reach out to us. Thanks.